Welcome. We're going to talk about Florida real estate. We're going to focus on down payment assistance, avoiding mistakes, reducing stress. We're going to talk about how to buy a home, and we're going to talk about tips and resources. I'm Randy Jenkins, and I appreciate you watching my video. A lot of the people watching this are going to be first-time home buyers, and it's disconcerting to do anything that you don't know. And the challenge that you have is what I'm going to hopefully be able to counsel you on how to reduce the stress. But the fact of the matter is that real estate is stressful. Every transaction is stressful. Nobody wants to make a mistake, and every transaction has risk. And the question is, how do you reduce or mitigate the risk? And we're going to talk about how to reduce stress, and we're going to talk about how to reduce risk. Now, I'm Randy Jenkins, and I'm going to put my booking link in the chat box, and it's right here on the screen for those of you who are watching the replay. Today we have an agenda of education. We're going to hope to identify where you are in the process. I'm going to advise you about using the experience of others. I'm going to give you direction, and I'm going to help you make a plan. These webinars seem to get technical and baffling, and I have an opinion that it's so that you'll get so confused that you'll want to call the host and say, do this for me. And that's great. I mean, I'm happy to be there for you to help you achieve your real estate goals. But frankly, right now, for the purpose of this, I'd like you to just go ahead and relax. And you can take notes, but you don't have to, because I'm going to send you the replay. So write down your questions. As I say something that causes you to think of something, just write down your questions. And amongst the what we're going to offer is I'm going to give you a little bit of behind the curtain. You know, that comes from The Wizard of Oz. And let's move forward here. I'm Randal Jenkins. I've been a mortgage loan officer. I've been in real estate for 25 years. I have a real estate investment company. Prior to this, I spent 18 years in the financial services industry. I was a stockbroker, sold stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I was at Rocket Mortgage, and now I'm at American Mortgage Services. And my quote is, you are not doing real estate today. You are getting ready to do real estate. So I Googled what are the steps to home ownership, and it said, get a pre-approval, go shopping, move into your house. And that is such bull. I had to come to this class, but the truth is that real estate is not as easy as Googling how to buy a home or the steps to home ownership. You have a choice. You can find a home and then go find the money, or you can find the money first and then go shopping. And that brings us up to those of you who came in because of the mistakes. And we're going to go through the mistakes, and we're going to hopefully get you away from making these mistakes. Down payment assistance is awesome. I mean, if you haven't got the money, then you better find the money. And if people spent half the time looking for the money as they spend looking for houses, then they would be way better off, because down payment assistance is not something you can go get it tomorrow. Down payment assistance, and I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about down payment assistance, is what you're going to do when you get off of this with me. Hopefully, you will start working on finding the money. And I'm going to go through all the numbers on what you're going to need to buy a house. And one of the mistakes is Googling down payment assistance, because you're going to get 100 mortgage brokers that are all going to be trying to get you as a lead so that they can offer their services to you. So there are grants, and there are second mortgages, and some of these are, you don't have to pay them back. Some of them you do have to pay back. Some of them you can get, I can see myself, some of them you can get two or more of them, they call it stacking. Generally, it's very hard to stack them, but depending on your situation, and we're going to, now I'm not going to counsel you now, but if we do get together, I will counsel you and we'll look at seeing what's available to you, whether it's based on income or whether it's based on your region or whether if you're an American Indian or if you're a veteran or if you're a policeman. There's all kinds of programs out there that we can attempt to access. And I'll go into depth on what it's going to take to be able to access these programs. Now, you don't need to know any of this, but there are four basic kinds of mortgages: conventional, FHA, USDA, and VA. You don't need to know any of this because when you go in to get your pre-approval, you're going to be told what you qualify for. Now, mostly everyone's going to be going FHA if you're in a first-time home buyer situation. But if we can get you a USDA or a VA loan, that would be great. And just for education purposes, conventional is everything that's not any of these government programs. Now, we're going to talk about FHA at length throughout this because FHA is the best way for you to buy a home if you don't have a lot of money and you don't have a lot of resources. Obviously, if you're a cash buyer, you're not getting a mortgage, this doesn't apply to you. FHA is the easiest, let's say cheapest, or let's call it less money out of pocket, with the lowest credit score loan that you can get. And if you read some of the things I've got here posted, you can see some of the variables regarding FHA loans. Now, FHA loans, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about FHA loans. FHA loans are challenging. This is where people with the worst credit come in. This is also where the lowest credit scores come in, and it's also the least desirable buyer. If you're selling a house, and I'll go through it, you're going to the seller can decide not to do any business with FHA buyers. Now, if you're impacted by the storm Milton or by Helene, you can qualify for an FHA 403H. This is an FHA mortgage with no money down. And I understand the key to getting this one is if you can take a picture of the inside of your house with your sofa floating around, you can qualify for this, which means you could come in with no money down on the down payment. And if you can get the seller to pay the closing fees, it's even better. A conventional loan is everything that's not government. Now, what can you use for your down payment and closing costs? You can use your 401k, you can use gifts, you can use stocks and bonds. Hang on, excuse me. I wish I was smart enough to cut that out. You can't use credit cards, you can't get loans, undisclosed loans, and you can't use undocumented cash. And if you do have a lot of cash, you actually have a problem. Loans are made based on your ability to repay. And when you do your application for a mortgage, we'll go through this. So I'm supposed to remind you on a regular basis to sign up for a one-on-one meeting with me. And this is one way you can do it. If you're on this webinar, which is what I'm on right now, randyj.zoomseminar.com/book. And that will allow you to make an appointment with me, or you can always just call me on the phone because I'm on the phone all day. Mistake number 2, not getting a pre-approval. Your pre-approval is going to require you to have good enough credit to buy a house. It's going to have good enough income, 2 years of tax returns, and the down payment. Now, down payment assistance, we're going to go through. I'm going to show you how to shop for down payment assistance. I'm going to show you where you can see which home qualifies for which down payment assistance program. I'm going to show you how to make an application for down payment assistance. And I'm going to hopefully help you reduce the stress by education. So we talked about it, credit, income, and assets. This will determine what house you can qualify for. It will determine how much of a house you can afford. It'll give you what your monthly payment's going to be, and it'll identify which loan products you're going to be able to use to meet your goals. So here's some rules. Don't make any large purchases. Don't change bank accounts. Don't make any large cash deposits. Don't do any transfer balances. Don't close any credit cards accounts. Don't consolidate your debt into one or two credit cards. Don't apply for new credit or take out a new loan or co-sign for a loan. Don't obviously max out or overcharge your credit cards. And get this, don't pay off old debt. You could have something on there 5, 6 years old. And if you say, oh, I owe $500, I'll just pay that off. If you pay it off, it will now become a current 90-day late. Because if you haven't paid for it in 60 months and you pay it off, it's going to suddenly say you have a current 59-month, 58-month, and 57-month late. So don't pay off old debt. You do want to make your application on a pre-approval and have us counsel you on how to handle that. It's better to pay off the debt in the closing than it is to pay it off in advance. All right, mistake number 3, using your bank. See, the banks have their own criteria. Going to the bank is like going to Walmart. There's no negotiation. They have loan origination fees and discount points. You don't need to know that. Just know that the banks have thousands and thousands of customers. And if you don't fit into their box, you are not going to get the same deal you would get if you go through a mortgage broker, which is what I am. Also, large banks may not allow you to use down payment assistance programs. And that's not always true, but it's just banks are expensive. Let's just put it that way. Mortgage loan officer is a mortgage broker that has access to dozens or hundreds of lenders that can shop for your particular situation. Buying from builders. The builders have these wonderful salespeople. They're realtors in their showrooms, but they work for the builder and they're experts, and they're going to come off as your friend, and they're going to be so wonderful, and you're going to not get the same deal you'd get if you had an advocate with you, a realtor to go with you, inspections and walkthroughs and buy downs. And, you just got to be very careful when you go into a negotiation with the person that represents the other side. It's also the same argument on why you might not want to deal with a listing agent. Now, having said that, I am a realtor and I'm a listing agent. I got 28 listings right now. I'll probably show them to you before the end of this, but I'm not advocating that you don't go through me, but you just need to know that when you're dealing with the listing agent or whether you're dealing with the rep at the builder, they are not on your side. All right, skipping a home inspection is not even viable anymore because home inspections are required. The 4-point home inspection in Florida is required to buy a home. And I have said this for years, and that is the negotiation doesn't start until the home inspection ends. And this is where a real good advocate for you can get you concessions or price reductions or repairs. All right, mistake number 6. This is where I shine, let me tell you, because over the years, I have dealt with a lot of buyers who were not properly coached in the home buying process, not being coached I just made this slide. Let me fix it. Okay, so I'm going to go into depth on this, on how to approach the home buying process. And some of you came, well, I don't know if anybody came in on the ad, but I ran an ad about how do you reduce stress and I, one of my early slides, I showed you that real estate is stressful. You cannot get rid of the stress, but you can reduce stress by taking action, by having knowledge, and by making a plan. And what an advocate will do for you is help you with the uncertainties. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know when you're coming up to a very important decision. You don't know about the deadlines. You don't know about how you can lose your deposit. And you have to have an advocate. Fact is, that's what I should do. I should have an advocate to be on your side in the transaction. So we talked about first-time home buyer incentive programs or down payment assistance. We talked about getting a pre-approval. We talked about the bank versus a mortgage company. We talked about the home inspection. We talked about the dangers of buying directly from a builder. And we talked about not being coached properly on how to buy a home. You don't know what you don't know, and you don't want to get your education from your bad experiences. And if you go to anybody you know, if you go to your folks or you go to your family who's bought a home and say, what did you learn? What were the problems? What happened? Where if you would have done it all again, you would have known not to do this or you would have done that. These experiences that people have, the bad experiences are repetitive. They get made over and over. You go into a situation, you don't know what you're doing, you make a mistake, you lose a deposit, you buy a bad house. You don't know what you're doing if you haven't bought a lot of houses. So you need to have somebody on your side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into another presentation set of slides. They're not pretty. And I'm going to illustrate the processes. And then I'm going to go into tips, and I'm going to go into mortgages, and I'm going to give you as much content as I can in an hour. And I'm supposed to keep bringing this up. If you want to spend more time with me, please reach out. You can book a call. I'm going to put my contact information up there a few times so you'll be able to reach out to me. These slides, I don't feel like I have to stay with them. This is mine. I can do what I want. Book a call with me to discuss your personal situation, get a pre-approval, go house shopping. Any questions? Please write them down. Let's reduce the stress by education and by a plan. So I'm going to jump over into my other thoughts and my other training. So we're going to talk about shopping for real estate. A renter once told me, if I have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get a house, I'm not going to do it. And I'm telling you right now, this is a hoop jumping contest. And you will get stressed, and you will be challenged, and you will be calling me up going, what? And I'll be going, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Because it's going to get a little exciting, a little emotional. And the idea that you can get rid of the stress in real estate. I mean, I've done personally, I don't know, 700 transactions. And every time I do a deal, it's always, all right, are we doing the right thing? Am I going to be stressed? Yes, I'm going to be stressed because nobody wants to make a mistake. But let's talk about what I said was I would counsel you on how to deal with sellers. When a seller lists a house, they meet with a listing agent and they decide what kind of buyer they're willing to consider. And now I'm in Pasco County, which is just north of Hillsborough County and Pinellas County. And in my county, at this moment, there's around 4,600 properties to choose from. But only around 2,300 of them will consider an FHA buyer. And the reason is when a seller is deciding what kind of buyer they'll consider, if the listing agent is smart, they'll counsel them about the obligations that a seller accepts when they accept an FHA buyer. And that means they have to sign what's called an FHA addendum. And you don't need to know this, but the FHA addendum for the seller says a whole bunch of things, including the fact that they're going to make the repairs necessary to pass FHA inspections. Now, it's great for you as a buyer. You're not going to be able to buy a house that won't pass inspection. But the seller has to make these repairs, and a lot of sellers are unwilling to do it. So if you go on to Zillow and you see houses that sold in a week or in 10 days, it's very likely that none of them went FHA, because when a house is listed, they get a bunch of offers, and the sellers generally will go with a cash buyer. If they can't find a cash buyer, they'll go with a conventional buyer. If they can't find a conventional buyer, then they'll consider FHA. So FHA buyers are not discriminated against so much as the sellers may choose not to deal with an FHA buyer. And I've had a lot of experience over the years where, I mean, let's face it, everybody wants a good deal. I think I'm about to tell you a story that's going to come up on one of my slides, but everybody wants a good deal. So if you go on Zillow and you see there's 10 houses that fit my criteria, look, this one just got listed. And then I'm sending you houses, and I don't send you that one. And the reason I didn't send you that one is because they're not taking FHA buyers. And you're going to say, why is Randy always sending me the high price ones? And the answer is because the low price ones need work. And when they need work, they won't pass inspection. If they won't pass inspection, they're not going FHA. So anyway, let's move on down the list. These sellers that we're going to have to deal with, unless it's new construction, they can get very emotional. They think they've got, oh, you want my house, and they very poor behavior in the past. Some of my sellers, or some of the sellers I've dealt with, they almost sabotage the transaction. And, you know, I'm counseling you to tell you that sellers, I mean, sometimes they're great, but a lot of times they're not. And buyers can be emotional too, but I'm telling you, sellers can be crazy. All right, realtors and buyers. So the realtors got sued, and they lost this big lawsuit, and now they changed the rules about how realtors interact with buyers, and they will not show you a house without signing a buyer's broker agreement. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google realtor lawsuit, and it just tons and tons of content. They lost $410 million, and it's changing the whole world. What happened to travel agents, Expedia and Travelocity sort of did away with, you know, every town had, you know, a couple of travel agents, and now you go, it's very rare to see independent travel agents. Usually they specialize in cruise, in tours or cruises, but they went the way. The internet got rid of them. Commission stockbrokers don't exist. You can go online and do trading for free. And realtors are probably going to go away. It's going to be a day where you're not going to have a buyer's agent helping you. Yeah, but until then, you need to know the rules, and the rules have changed. All right, so I told you I'd tell you how to buy a house. It's going to break down like this. You're going to be a cash buyer, you're going to be an FHA buyer, you're going to be a VA or a USDA buyer, or you're going to be conventional, which is everything else. If you're one of these FHA, VA, or USDA, you're going to pay what's called private mortgage insurance, PMI. PMI is basically the government creating a program so that lenders don't want to do business with you if you don't have a lot of money and great credit. So they created a system where the borrower pays for, with FHA, it's called insurance, or PMI, private mortgage insurance. With VA, it's called a funding fee. And you don't need to know any of this. And in conventional, you can actually have, you know, PMI on a conventional mortgage, but it's private mortgage insurance. It does nothing for you except get you a house, because it allows the lenders to be willing to lend you the money, because they're not going to lend you the money if you don't qualify. And I mean, qualifying a conventional mortgage with no PMI is 20% down plus 6% in closing fees. So to buy a $300,000 house, you need $75,000 to go conventional. But if you go FHA, you can get in for as low as 3.5% on 300 grand. It's only going to cost you $10,500. If you can get the seller to pay the 6% in closing fees, then you'll have only $10,500 out of pocket. If you can get down payment assistance, you could feasibly come in with little or no money down if you can get the seller to pay your closing fees, or if you can get the down payment assistant to pay your closing fees. And each one of these down payment assistance programs, I'm going to spend some time going through some of them, are different. They all have different criteria of what the money can be used for. All right, I'm going to give you a timeline. You do a contract today. You have 3 days to put down your deposit. You have 15 days, unless that number is changed, to do your inspection. 30 days after the contract date. The contract date is called the effective date. Okay, 30 days after the effective date. And that is when there's a buyer and a seller. So the effective date is when the last person signs. So if you sign today and the seller signs tomorrow, the effective date is tomorrow. So you have 3 business days to do your earnest money. You have 15 days to do your inspection. 30 days later, you have to verify with the seller your financing condition. And if you don't have your final approval, you have to extend that 30 days, that financing period. Then you have an appraisal, a walkthrough, and a closing. And there's a lot more to this. You got to buy your insurance, and that's why you need to have an advocate that's going to advise you during each phase of the process. How much is it going to cost? I'm not talking about down payments. I'm not talking about the closing fees. I'm talking about just figuring out whether you're going to buy the dang house or not. And the answer is $600 to $1,300. You're going to pay $500 for an inspection. You're going to get a wind mitigation to try to lower your insurance. If you're buying a 1970s or 80s or even 90s house, you should consider getting a sewer camera inspection. If you're buying a septic tank house, you got to get a septic inspection. And you could do all of this and still not get the house. Back in 2017 and 18, the market was about to explode, and houses were selling substantially more than they previously had sold for. And what was happening is cash buyers were causing sellers to get greedy. And I talked to one gentleman who did this 3 times. And you know what's not on here? The appraisal is not on here. So he did it 3 times, and all 3 times the home didn't appraise and the seller did not lower the price. So if you're a cash buyer, figure it's $500 for your closing fees. But if you're financing, you need to assume around 6% of the purchase price. And you're going to go, oh my God, for a $300,000 house, it's going to cost me $18,000. Well, not exactly. The lender's going to have fees. You're going to have appraisals. You're going to have title fees. You're going to have potential lender buy downs. You're going to have prepaids. Prepaids are, the lender's going to require you to prepay, potentially, depending on the kind of loan, a year's worth of insurance and a year's worth of taxes. So if you have a regular mortgage, it's PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And each month you pay 1/12 of those. But for the first year, it doesn't work. If you start paying 1/12, you don't have this first year has to be paid up front. They're called prepaids. And these are only paid if you buy the house. And if you can get the seller to pay for them, then that's ideal. The problem with it is that sellers don't want to pay for them. And the only way that they're going to pay for them is if they can't sell their house and they can't find a buyer any other way. So the hot new houses are not going to pay for your closing fees. And I have people, poor people, they want a house. They need a house. The perfect house gets listed. It's been on the market for one day. And then they call me and they say, this is the perfect house. And I go, yeah, but not for you, because you have to get the seller to pay the 6% in closing fees. And they're not going to do it on a one-day house. It's going to be, if you're a FHA buyer and you need help with closing fees, you need to be looking at the houses that have been on the market for a month, 2 months, 3 months. So money down for the contract, even though you might get 100% financing through down payment assistance, you still will have to come up with something to hold the house. 1% on a $300,000 house, if you offer $1,000, now they may take $1,000 deposit, but generally speaking, if you're buying a $300,000 house, you need to look at a $3,000 down payment. If you're buying $1 million house and you're not putting 10 grand down, 1%, these sellers are not going to take your offer seriously. So I said you're going to make a plan. Now, it's based on your situation. If you're a cash buyer, let's go shopping. But if you're financing, you're going to fall within 3 money categories. You're going to be little or no money down. You're going to be 5 or 10% down, or you're going to be 20% down or more. And this will determine what your ability to pay for the home, and I mean which flavor of mortgage is going to be appropriate for you. And when you do your pre-qualification application, if you've been in the business for any time at all, we're going to look at it and we're going to know right away. There's no way. Or we're going to look at it right away and go, hey, you're the perfect borrower. Or we're going to look at it and say, this is going to be a big challenge. You're going to be in the, let me just go to the next screen. All right. If you have little or no money down and bad credit, you're not getting a house. You're in the credit repair business. You're in the find the money business. You're in the down payment assistance business. You're in grants and classes and gifts. And you're trying to see what you can qualify for. And I'm going to show you a bunch of down payment assistance programs. I'm going to show you how to find them. But it is what it is. I mean, most people know if they have bad credit. Interestingly, some people with okay or good credit I don't know how my credit is. Well, most of them have okay credit, but people with bad credit know it. We can, if you got a year or 2 or 3, then you can get a house, but you got to have a job and you got to have enough income and you got to have good enough credit. And I'm happy to counsel you and help you in terms of setting up a plan. And the good thing is that allegedly bad medical credit and bad student loans are not supposed to impact you. But remember, the lenders aren't your friend. The mortgage broker's your friend. I want you to get the mortgage, but we got to get you through the process. And the only way we're going to do that is we have to take your application and paint a pretty picture. We have to show, oh, there was an issue on their credit, but it was this and that, and we have to explain it away. And if we can't, then you're going through credit repair. All right, down payment assistance, county grants. SHIP is a great program. It's a first-time home buyers program. It's up to $25,000 in down payment assistance and closing costs. It can be given as a 0 interest deferred loan that's forgiven after a certain amount of time. It's a great program. Hometown Heroes was only available for police and nurses and firemen and first responders, but now Hometown Heroes is available for everyone. All right, one home. I'm not going to jump out of this because I got to change my screen size, but we're going to go through one home and I'm going to show you how every home out there has the opportunity for down payment assistance. Now, some homes are not going to qualify because of location or because of condition or because of year built, but a lot of homes, and I'm going to use one home, and I'm just going to pick a home, and I'm going to show you how to look for down payment assistance. All right, if you have some money down, 3.5% for FHA, we're talking 6% in closing fees and prepaids. If you have this and you want to buy a home tomorrow, We can get you a pre-approval right now, and you can go ahead and get a house under contract tomorrow. But if you want down payment assistance, then we need time. If you have 3.5% down and you can get the seller to pay the closing fees, you can buy a house tomorrow. The problem is that you lose negotiating power, and the number of houses that is available to people who need down payment assistance plummets. In my illustration earlier, I said there were 4,600 houses, of which 20, it changes. Let's say 2,400 have down payment, have FHA. But of those, 30% of them in a flood zone, and you don't want those. And then of the remaining 10 or 15% of them are 55 and older. So if you're a family starting out, you're going to find that the number of homes available out of those 4,600 is going to be a very small population, because all the new hot homes aren't available to give you down payment assistance. Excuse me. So when I say you need to be counseled, this is so people during COVID that were going after FHA houses, not only were they not paying closing fees, they weren't even selling to FHA buyers. Terrible, terrible market. All right, if you have 20% down in closing fees, so in my illustration earlier on the $300,000 house, if you've got 20% of 60,000 down and closing fees of $18,000, which is not really accurate, but it does add up. But let's say that's the maximum. So if you have $78,000 and you want to go buy a $300,000 house, we can go shopping right away. And then, of course, if you're a cash buyer, then we can go shopping right away. Just remember, everything in life is terms or price. And to get the best terms, to get the best price, you need to be a cash buyer. Otherwise, you're looking at terms. And then it doesn't even matter what the price of the house is. What matters is what's your down payment and what's the monthly payment. So I talked about this earlier. Everybody wants a good deal, but the good deals need work. The sellers know this, and because of that, they give you a better price, but it won't pass inspection. And because they won't pass inspection, they're not being offered FHA. Now, when I have a house that is not being sold as an FHA house, I get calls all day long from realtors saying, well, the pictures are pretty. Are you sure it won't go FHA? And the answer is maybe it will, but it doesn't mean the seller wants to do it. Right now, I've got a deal that's just, it's just such a nightmare, because even though it's only a 2-year-old mobile home, they have flagged a whole bunch of stuff. And this seller is losing their minds over the repairs that they're having to make. They're saying, I'm selling it as is. And that seller was not counseled about the implications of taking an FHA mortgage. But for the sake of talking too much, FHA buyers will pay the most of anybody. They aren't worried as much about price as they are about the monthly payment. So if you're not being coached by, if your mortgage, if you tried to buy a house and it didn't work out and you don't know what to do, and you're watching my video here and you don't understand what happened, it's likely that you weren't coached. Sellers know that FHA buyers are the most likely to have it blow up. They're the most likely to have a problem at the end where suddenly they had a pre-qualification, but they couldn't get the final qualification for some reason. But FHA buyers are motivated buyers. I mean, who's not, if you're paying $2,200 a month in rent and you can buy a house for $1,900 a month and you own it, it doesn't matter what the price is. What matters is that you've got a motivated buyer who's going to save $300 a month on their housing expense. I said it already. FHA buyers are most likely to have the contract fall through. Inspections may reveal repairs that the seller is not willing to make. These transactions sometimes take 4 or 5 weeks before we find out that they're not going to happen. And some sellers have had bad experiences with FHA buyers because these are the most likely transactions to have problems. Whenever a realtor gets a buyer, they always want to find out if they're pre-qualified. When I get a buyer, I don't care. They're either got the ability to buy the house or they're not. I want to know if they're FHA, because if they're FHA, they need to be counseled about the challenges that FHA buyers go through. No hot new listings, no houses with multiple offers, no houses that where you're having to ask for closing fees, no houses that need work. Generally, good deals don't go FHA. I ought to make a video. Good deals don't go FHA. All right, except in special situations. I'm going to tell a story. I had a probate deal. It wasn't even my deal. I was friends with the heir to the estate of a gentleman that passed. And the realtor who was not me. I wasn't in the deal in any way, but I did help the seller. But the realtor was clueless. It turns out the buyer was a contractor, and the house was empty. It was in an estate, and nobody really cared. But they let the buyer into the home for 2 weeks, and that buyer fixed everything. I was there. That buyer comes in with a new pool pump and just spent thousands and thousands of dollars fixing up a home that it wouldn't pass FHA inspection. They did a home inspection. They got a big list. They fixed everything on the list and turned a rough handyman into an FHA property. You know, I don't have a slide for it, but let me just invite you to Google FHA 203K. This is a renovation loan, and I sell this loan. I don't know why I don't have a screen for it, but it is the only way to buy a fixer-upper. Now, it's not going to work on hot, brand new listings, but if you find an older house that needs work and they're not offering FHA and you're an FHA buyer, you should really reach out to me to talk about FHA 203K. And by the way, if you're a investor, you got to look at the Fannie Mae home style loan. It's just amazing what you can do by buying fixer-uppers using the renovation kind of mortgages. Failed inspections, you got to have an advocate in your corner because it's going to happen. All right, let's talk about the current market. Condos, stay away from them. Condos are bad. The HO fees are going through the roof. Insurances on condos. If you want to buy a low maintenance property, look at villas and townhomes, and then no flood zones. If you own a house in a flood zone, in fact, I talk to investors and they say, well, I was thinking about selling my houses, some of my houses. I'm like, sell the flood zone houses first. It's not a pretty picture. What happened during Helene was unheard of. What happened during Milton was crazy. We had enormous freshwater flooding. Homes in non-flood zones flooded. And I can go into insurance. It's going to come a day where every house is going to be required to have flood insurance, even if they're not in the flood zone. And everyone's, oh no, but if you're not in a flood zone, flood insurance is cheap. You wouldn't buy it if you didn't have to, but they're going to make you do it. It's going to be really good for the flood insurance market. All right, for more information, I'm Randal Jenkins, Florida Real Estate Partners. 409 Home is my a whole bunch of things. I have a website called 409home.com. My email address is rj409home@gmail.com. My phone number is 727-409-HOME. I'm at American Mortgage Services at 1000 South Ashley Drive in Tampa, 10th floor. I'm a mortgage broker and I'm a realtor. I'm going to show you some of my resources because I told you I was going to give you tips. But if you Google me on YouTube, you'll find Randal Jenkins Realtor. There's 2 sites. One is me in the hat. Oh, do I have the hat? Okay. Not this one. No, I got beat up. I do a lot of paddle boarding, and that's one of my beater hats. But anyway, not that one. You want the one with me in the suit. All right, what do you need? You need an advocate, you need an advisor, you need a gladiator in your corner who's going to look out for your best interests. And part of this video is it's like a job interview. You're interviewing me to see if I'm your guy. And if I am, that's great. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But anyway, don't learn from your mistakes. Find somebody that's been through this and is going to help you. All right, just to rehash, I spent 25 years in real estate. I spent 18 years as a stockbroker in the financial services industry, selling stocks and bonds and mutual funds. I had an insurance license. I now own my own real estate brokerage, Florida Real Estate Partners. I'm licensed with American Mortgage Services. I do extensive content on YouTube, and I played with the 409 home and the 409 home and gave you all that information. That's just a slide of some of the deals I've done. Okay, resources. I'm going to go through this and give you a bunch of resources. But first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this slide. And I'm going to jump into my next slide, buying real estate. Your education will never end. And I tell you, after 25 years, I learned things and it blows me away. And it makes me wonder how the heck new realtors are able to deal with this market. First thing, the first-time home buyer loan myth. If you haven't owned a home in 3 years, you're a first-time home buyer. Cash or financing. We talked about this already. 2 years of tax returns. What's it going to cost? Oh, you know what I did? I'm replaying the same video. Oh, let's go back and get the right one. All right. So much for the smooth presentation. All right, let's get rid of that. And let's go into some of the resources that I'm going to recommend that you consider. I'm going to make my screen bigger, and I'm going to share with you some of these resources. Let's make this bigger. Okay, now you can see behind the curtain. Okay, so I have a YouTube channel that I'm actually quite proud of. And this is it right here. And I put out quite a bit of content. I told you I would help you out with real estate tips. And here are some of my real estate tips. I have 25 real estate tips. I have 26 real estate tips. I have 27 real estate tips. Can I get the rest of them in there? Okay, you're free to watch these videos. If you want to talk about owner financing, I have a great video on owner financing. There's a lot of properties in Florida that have settlement or sinkholes. I'm an expert in this arena. I sell a lot of properties that have had issues. Watch my videos on this. If you want to know about the flood homes, we've had some tremendous craziness in the flood market. And let me see if I can get this up here. I've done quite a bit of videos on flood properties. If you're looking at waterfront and you want to look at homes that are not going to have the high-priced insurance, you're going to want to look at stilt homes. And but anyway, I invite you to take a look at my. Did it work? Look at this. I just moved the. Look at that. I just moved that around. Never done that before. So find my YouTube page and feel free to look at some of the resources that I offer. It's Randal Jenkins Realtor. I just changed over to this particular site, so I don't have a lot of followers on it. But my other YouTube channel was Randal Jenkins 7942. I couldn't go viral with it, so I'm now at Randal Jenkins Realtor, and I put out videos all the time. Here, look at this. This is 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, 5 days ago. All right, let's see if I can get that other, let's see, it's this one. Okay, so I promised I would do down payment assistance. And you know what? I'm just going to have to skip this because I don't have the right screen up. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to say thank you for watching. No, that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into an actual home. It's on the market right now. This is a program. I'm going to go ahead and move this over here. It's called One Home. And this is a program that realtors are using right now to, and I'm going to show you why you don't need me. Isn't that terrible? This is going to allow you to shop for properties. A realtor will email these to you. I will be happy to be that realtor. But if you are looking for a home, you want to get on One Home from a realtor because of this button right here. This is down payment assistance. This property may qualify for 26 programs up to $65,000 in down payment assistance. So this takes us over to this site. And you don't need to know it, but there you are. Leaside Isle has as many as $60,000 worth of homes, of down payment assistance programs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign in so I can look at these programs on this for your benefit. All right, get program details. All right. Your agent, Randal Jenkins, has been sent a copy of these results. You can contact them at 409. So here's 26 programs. This one has a maximum of 5% of the loan amount. This one allows you down payment, closing cost assistance in the form of a 0% interest deferred payment, no monthly payment, forgivable second mortgage. You have to have credit score and you have to have income. Is not on this one, it's not required. I'm just going from memory. Okay, here's another one up to $10,000. Here's one up to $10,000. This one is out of money. This one is 5% of the purchase price up to just below $14,000. Here's one that's 5% of the purchase price. 5% of the purchase price. These yellow ones are not available. Okay, $15,000, no income limits, did not have to be a first-time home buyer, may use the lender or realtor of your choice, and it may be layered with other down payment assistance. Do you understand that you can stack this one? You could get this one and another one, but getting them is not the easy thing. You have to go through their verification process. You have to do an application. Here's a $5,000 grant, does not have to be repaid, no sales price limit, no fees, out of funds, maximum amount not available. So when I talk about buying a home and getting money available for your, you've got to have money to buy a house unless you can find the money. And I watch people spend years looking for a house and then go, I found the house. How am I going to pay for it? Stop shopping for houses and shop for the money. Anyway, let's call this down payment assistance discussion well done. And let's give you some more resources. All right. I am on Facebook at Florida Real Estate Partners. This is my company. And I invite you to reach out and join Florida Real Estate Partners and follow it. And you'll see that I put out regular content that will give you education. And this is my, that's my son. He's 22 now. This is my nephew, Carter Jenkins. If you're bored, Google Carter Jenkins. Here's some of my content. that I put out on a regular basis, literally every day, whether it's listings or discussions on insurance, best practices. This is a great video. I haven't promoted it, so it doesn't have anybody followers. I just made it. Feel free to reach out and jump on this Florida Real Estate Partners so that you can see the content as it comes out. I also want to invite you to look at one of my personal websites, 409home.com is a website that I didn't really promote, but it seems to have gotten some interest. It allows me to create content for specific buyers that may not want to get emails. Here's 322 homes for below 325,000. I've got a terrific button right here called bank-owned properties that will give you bank-owned properties in 7 counties. Here's all the bank-owned properties out there. Now, most realtors are not going to want to promote a button like this because you could just go straight there and buy it without going through me. But frankly, I don't, as long as I don't know, I don't care. But feel free to jump onto my 409 home for the purpose of shopping or getting education. Just to show you, I have a big marketing group of realtors. I have 46 properties right now that my group is marketing. Now, 26 of these are my listings, but I have a bunch of other realtors, and we co-brand and we co-market each other's properties for the purpose of finding buyers. And let's see what else I promised that I can offer. Make sure I've done everything I said I would do. Let's go back into my presentation and make sure that we've got everything. So I said down payment assistance, avoiding mistakes, reducing stress, how to buy a home, and tips and resources. I'm going to talk about stress again. You can reduce stress by exercise, by sleep, by eating right. And what I said was to reduce stress, you're going to do it by education. And I would love to be able to find that slide by creating a plan and by implementing that plan. And most importantly, here we go. How do you reduce stress in real estate? By taking action, by increasing your knowledge, by making a plan, and by hiring an advocate to work for you to help you achieve your goals. Now, I can't believe this, but I am done. And I did it in 58 minutes. So if you want to book a call, randyj.zoomseminar.com/book is your way to sign up, or you can just give me a phone call. Hey, I'm Randy Jenkins. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for watching. I wish you the best. Bye now.